Good afternoon, traders and investors. So today, a bit of a muted day here, slight green day on most of the indexes. Our big movers today were in crypto, and a few of our major banks also got hit a little bit, presenting us with some opportunities. So we're going to go through the charts, going to go look over the major indexes, our major tech names, some crypto, and of course the plays for the week that I've started to be taking, maybe give you guys some ideas on that. So without further ado, let's get into some charts, yeah? All right, so looking at the S&P 500, guys, on the daily, as you can see, we are kind of stuck in this very wide range right here. On the S&P 500, my most ideal time frame for the time being is going to be the weekly chart. So as you can see, for the past 4 or 5 weeks now, we are setting up this weekly bull flag, kind of grinding our 12 EMA, hesitating here at the higher end of our range. Our resistance level is still set, really hasn't moved here. Right about 418-ish here on the SPY. Lower area obviously is going to be too low. Our low area here down in the 405 area on SPY. Also in line with this big support and our moving averages. So what we do want to see, if you're looking at the lower time frames for the rest of the week, we have a very, very nice bull move here off the lows to create a 4-hour potential bull flag. What you want to see if you're a bull is you want to see this inverse head and shoulders pattern kind of play out. It works very well. You could call it an inverse head and shoulders. It's also somewhat of a cup and handle if you were to kind of smooth this move out. Probabilities wise, we are looking for some continuation to the upside into the higher level of our resistance. Don't forget, we do have CPI Wednesday morning. So that's going to be one of our bigger catalysts for the week. Not much else in the week though, guys. I mean, in terms of earnings, we did have a few earnings today that we're going to look over in terms of Palantir and PayPal, some of the crowd favorites. And we do have Airbnb tomorrow. So pretty much looking forward to that. Did make some plays on all three of those. So we're going to check that out. But for the time being, SPY, let's break it down into the individual components, right? So QQQ, very bullish, leading SPY. We're now actually grinding higher through our resistance area, right? So now at this point, we can, Roblox? Now at this point, we can say that we're kind of above our resistance, not by much, but judging on the candle formation here, it does appear that we do want to move or grind somewhat higher on the 4-hour. If you see it on the daily, very bullish close on Friday, bullish close on the day today. So it would not surprise me if the tech bulls keep grinding up, especially if our bigger names, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, if they can keep grinding higher, pulling this index up, potentially, hopefully getting some support from Tesla as well. Wouldn't be surprising, guys, to see us push in to our higher resistance areas up here on the QQQs. You're looking at the higher 320s. So anywhere between 327 all the way through 333 is going to be your very big area of resistance here. On the downside, obviously, we are looking at this higher low here of right around 315. So you definitely don't want to lose that. But all in all, guys, on the QQQs, looking fairly bullish, right? So this is one of our most bullish sectors coming out of the entire banking crisis and whatnot, and continues to stay our lead bull. RSI pushing up higher decently, MACD also pushing up higher decently. As I was showing you last week, the monthly closes, right? Monthly closes of March and April, fairly bullish candle formations, could be due for some continuation of the upside. So still looking bullish. Bulls are in full control at this point of the monthly, weekly, and daily timeframes. Until that changes, I can't really be bearish on this. Looking at XLF financials. So resulting from last week, right, we had not only FRC pretty much, this is now 2 Fridays ago, but we also did have PacWest, WAL, so a few negative banking headlines last week did contribute to this very big move down. I considered it a dip for buying, so that's why I did make some plays on the Russell and also on Charles Schwab, but XLF was looking good. As I was saying, guys, you really want to be writing, if you are writing options, if this does interest you, I would be writing options here down into the 31s all the way to 30 areas if you can 5.5% to 1% on the weekly contracts. That's the level I'm watching. Today, a bit of a negative day here, considering we did have some negative headlines, both from TD and a couple of other regional banks. Also, we had a Fed statement come out around 2:30 p.m. That the credit was the most tight that it has been pretty much since 2009. In my opinion, guys, I interpret that as bullish. because the Fed is now being proactive. The banks are now being proactive. They are not over leveraging credit leading into a potential recession, which is very, very good. You usually want to see the credit tightening happening after as a proactive measure rather than a reactive measure, because everything's kind of hit the fan, right? So XLF, we are still consolidating here in a daily range here pretty much. What we're looking to do here at this point is bulls have put this is really annoying. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just move this over. So what we're looking for on the daily time frame here, I am looking for the top in this move, right? And thereafter, let's say we do top out here, I am looking for a daily trend confirmation. That would actually look pretty decent, right? For a daily trend reversal. That's what I'm looking out for on the daily. On the weekly, it's kind of the same thing. We are looking for our weekly higher low. Is it going to be last week? Last week is pretty deep and was like a culmination of negative headlines. So if this week can end at an inside bar, meaning if we can end this candle within this guy right here, right? If we can kind of come down into here, I want to see bulls reverse these two time frames simultaneously. I want to see the daily higher low, which on the weekly time frame would also set us up for this actually being the weekly higher low for a potentially weekly confirmation to the upside here. So we are sitting healthily right on our 200-week moving average at this point, sitting towards the lower end of the range, which is what you want to see if you're trying to write options in these lower areas here. And if we do reverse this would allow potentially for our QQQ bulls to take their foot off the gas a little bit and for SPY to be upheld by financials, which is something that hasn't really been the case in the last 3-4 weeks here. So moving on to the last major component of SPY, healthcare. Healthcare, I have to commend them. They have been holding the line decently. It's been a battle. QQQ's been up, XLF has been down, but you see XLV healthcare has been relatively flat. And that's what you want to see, right? So we have one sector going up, one going down, and this one flat, which means that the SPY has been able to kind of grind higher and hold its level. Now, if we get two sectors on our side, let's say tech keeps running and now healthcare runs a bit, but financial struggle, that you'll be able to see a slight further increase in SPY to the upside. So I like this chart on the weekly on healthcare, guys. I really do. This is a beautiful weekly bull flag coming to sit on these moving averages here. If you can, as you can see on the daily as well, daily, it kind of looks a bit messy. That's why I like zooming out on the weekly to really see how beautiful this bull flag is. On the daily, we're kind of tightening up this range right here, right? So we are trying to we're trying to confirm this guy here as our higher low. And if we can continue to grind higher, this will set in motion the daily uptrend, right? Confirmation, and also our potentially weekly trend confirmation, which is something that we haven't really had since back over here, right? So it's now been a good 4 months since we've had a confirmed weekly uptrend on healthcare. So that is one major thing that I will be looking out for. Now, let's take a look at crypto, guys. So overall bullish on the indexes. Considering we have only one major news event this week, I would not be surprised if the bulls just take the opportunity to grind higher, especially if CPI comes in lower. Now, let's take a look at crypto, right? So crypto had a couple negative headlines over the weekend. So you obviously had the Bitcoin network being bogged down by a lot of transactions, a lot of NFTs, a lot of meme coins that have been started on Bitcoin over the past week. So it's kind of backlogged the transactions here. It made the transactions more expensive and slower to process at the same time. And we also had a headline yesterday that there was about $4 billion worth of Bitcoin that was withdrawn from Binance. Now, you could take this two ways, right? So some people can view that as bearish. However, I personally am of the opposite sentiment. Now, it's not as if the person sold the Bitcoin on the exchange, right? So it's not a sell. This could literally just be a movement of funds off the exchange into private wallets, right? So it doesn't mean that it's necessarily a sell. It just means that it's a movement of funds. Now, traditionally, this can be associated with potentially like the FTX event where there was a flight of capital and deposits from the brokerage, in which point they had to kind of halt withdrawals. Now, Binance had to halt withdrawals slightly. They said it was due to technical issues, but I'm pretty sure they had to build up the liquidity stack in order to, if anyone else was to capitulate and start withdrawing at the same time. But anyways, in my opinion, this is all just noise. This is pretty much a technical pullback that was warranted, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that, right? So off this big drop, we were in this tightening range, and then on the lower time frames, if I go down to the 4-hour, you will see that we broke our 4-hour uptrend to the downside in a big way, came back up, retested our area as resistance, and then basically flushed. So in my opinion, it was a technical price action move and not so much due to the macro, right? It wasn't such an event that could warrant a massive sell-off like this or straight up fear in the crypto markets. In my opinion, this was just straight price action. If you look on the daily, we are kind of still caught in our very wide range here at this point, right? It's like kind of a very, very wide range here between 27 and 30. So it remains to be seen if bulls can hold our lower areas of support here right around 27,000, or if we want to move into weekly further consolidation. As you guys can see, ever since we got really far off, look, after this move right here, right? We were really far off our weekly 12 EMA. Now, with so many weeks of sideways consolidation for the most part, the moving averages have had time to catch up. So what you want to see if you're a bull here is you want us to hold this level of support, 27,000, but at the worst case scenario, we do have very strong support here down in the 25, 26,000 range. And like I was saying in previous videos, we have so much space to work with before even thinking of becoming bearish. So even if we were to pull down in this area here, in my opinion, this would still be a weekly uptrend. Now, it would be a weekly uptrend that takes a lot of time for consolidation, but we have massive levels of support right here. And until those are lost, I cannot turn long-term bearish on Bitcoin at all. The monthly chart, as I was saying, we have broken up here. So any further consolidation to the downside, let's say this lasts the month of May and potential early June, right? We are only looking for a monthly higher low. Look at how much space we have off the bottom. Any move to the downside and stop and further continuation will be our monthly higher low. So very excited here, guys, on crypto. I'm not very bearish. I'm still DCAing on pretty much every single dip that I can find. Decent dips. I'll do some at the bottom end of this range every single time. And if we do pull back into the 25K area, I will also be a buyer down there. So we're just going to have to wait here until bulls prove it to us. But at this point, I mean, we have kind of lost our daily momentum that we had. So unfortunately, bulls are going to have to try again, set our lower high like this, set a higher low, and potentially try for a new daily uptrend. It may take some time, but until we lose this support level, in my opinion, bulls are still in control despite our more negative recent price action. Now, Ethereum is kind of stuck in the exact same thing as Bitcoin, although the chart does look slightly uglier because we have created some somewhat scary demand supply areas up here. Like if you look on the weekly, right? Weekly, very ugly supply zone right here, right? Been rejected now for 3 weeks in a row. On the daily, you really don't want to see up and down engulfing like that. It just creates a big supply area where sellers can pretty much just smash the bid every time it gets up into here. So in my opinion, Ethereum will be beholden to any move that Bitcoin does, meaning that Bitcoin is going to lead. And if Ethereum is to crack through this big supply area right here, it's going to have to come from Bitcoin bulls. Bitcoin bulls are just going to have to lift up the crypto market as they've been doing, as they've been leading, and Ethereum at that point will follow. I don't think with such a heavy area of resistance at that point up here that Ethereum is going to be the one to lead the move this time. I could be wrong, could always be wrong, but I don't think that's the case. And in terms of Ethereum, we're still trapped within this range here, lower levels here between about 1800 and around 1850. So this is really the area that you don't want to see the bulls lose. 1800 to 1850 is kind of your last area here before we look for weekly lower lows, right? So weekly, on the weekly time frame, we have created a lot of space, but now we're kind of consolidating, resting on those moving averages here. If we do lose that level, then you have to target the lower levels here, guys, which would be pretty much 1700, right? 1675, 1700 before finding further support. But like I said, Ethereum is kind of a carry trade for me at this point. I do hold some, but I believe personally that if we do get a big move, it will come from Bitcoin first and Ethereum will follow. So downside levels, 1700. To the upside, obviously, first target here around 2000. Second target is going to be our most recent 52-week highs, which will be around 21. And the rest of cryptos presenting some very, very good opportunities, guys. I was looking at a few, more namely Link, which is at the bottom pretty much of a 5-month range at this point, right? So the bottom pretty much since December, we're getting really close here to the lower end of the average of this range, right? If I just draw a line here, it's around 625-ish. So getting some really good levels to DCA in or start a position on Linkcoin, in my opinion, which is one of my favorite cryptos. Also, we had a very big drop in Magic for anybody who's in that ecosystem. Magic was also obviously one of our larger runners from the beginning of the year and now has given most of that back, unfortunately. So if we do get down into these lower levels, I will be looking more heavily at it. But for the moment, bears are in absolute full control of this chart. And then lastly, Uniswap. Uniswap is also one that I've been keeping an eye on very closely because at this point, we will be at the bottom pretty much since last June. And that is notable to me if I'm looking to start a position. Unfortunately, bears are in full control of the weekly time frame and the daily time frame. On the lower time frames, 4 hour and below, we were getting fairly oversold. So I did initiate a position here right around 493 was my entry. And that's going to be an initial position. And I will be looking to add to it in terms of this altcoin. Because as you guys know, Uniswap is responsible for most of the gas paid every single day on the Ethereum network. Whenever you see gas high, you can always look at the gas breakdown. It's always going to be Uniswap is responsible for 50-60% of that because of the amount of swaps and token trading that you have on it. So I feel that's an ecosystem that will be around to stay, which is why I am interested, especially being, at this point, 90% off your all-time highs. Very interested in building a further position at these lower levels. Now, let's take a look at our major tech names shortly, and then we'll go over the plays for the day. So, major names for the day, Apple. I mean, I can almost remove this downward trending channel at this point because it's been invalidated fairly heavily at this point on the weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, I'm going to keep it really simple on Apple. Until we lose the daily uptrend, bulls are in full control of everything. Bulls are in control of the monthly time frame. They're in control of the weekly time frame. They're also in control of the daily time frame. This is starting to look like Nvidia, right? So I will not be a fan of shorting Apple until it gives me some signs that it wants to roll over. What's a sign? Is if we do a deep pullback potentially, set a lower high, and then roll over and crack a low like this, I will be interested because then I can enter here, set my stops above there, and then that becomes the trade for me. I'm not looking to be aggressively shorting here at the tops. I'm the type of trader that needs confirmation. So Apple to the upside, just some quick levels, right? We do have the 175 leading all the way to 180 is going to be our next area of resistance, right? So all up here, which is pretty much our all-time high resistance area. Apple on the weekly is trending to our higher end of the RSI. On the daily time frame, it's been maintaining relative high levels as well. But as you can see, guys, bulls are in full control. Even on the lower time frames, no real sign. I mean, we're kind of bull flagging up here on the hour and 4 hour time frame, despite this big gap from earnings that a lot of people want to see filled. But unless we get some negative news on Apple or negative news on the markets, this chart has no real reason to drop, right? It's the same with Microsoft, which we're about to look at. This is a perfect segue into Microsoft. Microsoft too, guys. If you want this gap to fill, there either has to be some negative news on Microsoft or some negative news for tech stocks as a whole, aka bad macro data. Until then, the gap doesn't really necessarily need to be filled in the immediate future. I'm not saying it won't be later on in this year, potentially, if we get some reversals. However, for now, bulls are in complete control. Microsoft bulls, complete control. Monthly MACD is just crossing now at this point. Weekly RSI and MACD are in full uptrend mode. On the chart, we're in full uptrend mode as well. So to the lower levels, if you're looking for some weekly consolidation, I would be looking at 300 all the way down to potentially 290 in terms of weekly consolidation. If for some reason we do come back because we're overextended. On the daily, we're still looking good. As you can see, Friday and today, we've kind of just confirmed a further daily trend confirmation. I don't like buying Microsoft up here. I would rather wait for a retest of these levels. Or if I'm looking for a short position, same concept, looking for a dip, a daily retest of this area potentially as resistance now, a break below. I would enter the trade at this point here and put my stop above here and be confident that at least, at worst case, if you do want to have somewhat of a two-tier stop loss, you could set the second one up there. This is the same trade I'm looking for on Microsoft, Nvidia, or Apple. I want the confirmation before doing anything. But at this point, bulls are in full control of the time frames, guys. Google is one that I like for a breakout potential, right? So we've been hugging this resistance around 108, 109 now for the better part of the last 6 weeks. So at some point, something's going to have to give. We're either going to have to give up these levels down here and break potentially below into the 100s, into my green box fair value zone down here, which would entail we'd lose the short-term moving averages, but we have some big support levels down here with the 200 weekly. But in my opinion, I'm trading this as if we are getting a break higher into the zone. So whenever I was writing Google in the past few weeks, I was writing just over $100, thinking that any severe dip on a daily fluke would have been bought up by the bulls. And as you can see, most of them have, right? It hasn't really been able to push much below 104. So today, another very bullish day for Google, almost up 2%. And it wouldn't surprise me, guys, that if we get some bullish CPI this week, Google is able to smash this resistance once and for all. Our next targets would then be this guy at 112 and this guy at 118, but not much thereafter, guys. Google does have some room to run to the upside, right? Look at this weekly chart. I mean, after about 112, there's not much price resistance here up until about much before 118. So does have some room to move, and it would make for a beautiful second leg rally off of this more local bottom here. So I'm looking out for that on Google, which is becoming my most likely scenario. As we can see, RSI is now above our average. MACD is still somewhat bullish, and on the monthly chart, same as the other charts, right? We do have our monthly MACD wanting to cross, so it would not be surprising to me if Google does break above. If we break below, I am still a buyer of Google, writing options in about the 198 zone nonetheless. Now, looking at our pretty much few last big tech names here, Amazon. Amazon is one of our weaker movers. So Amazon's struggling every day. You can see the tiny size of these candles, right? It's just Amazon is not being favored by Wall Street right now in terms of price action. Levels for me, I'm a buyer on Amazon for some short puts if I can find the premium on them. Anywhere in 98 or below is my target. Why? Because I feel that if we do need to pull back here, we'll be pulling back slightly above 100 on the weekly, which will open up some good opportunities in the high 90s here. And Amazon is trading at a relatively okay valuation, but that's because, their growth hasn't been the same, and their margins obviously haven't been the same. We've covered that in previous videos. Amazon, for me, target to the upside will be our 111 resistance up here. For the bulls, we are still sitting on our weekly moving averages up here. On the daily time frame as well, sitting decently above our daily moving averages. Bulls really want to put in a bit of a higher move and confirm a nice follow through with the daily uptrend on this. But until then, Amazon is kind of muted. Like I said, my targets are down here. And to the upside, your targets would be 111. Now, looking at Meta. So Meta, has started coming down, filling the gap a little bit. But as you can see, we're really hugging our 12 EMA very smoothly here. Still a bit of a gap to fill from about 230 down to 213. In the same situation as Apple and Microsoft, guys, to be honest with you. Like, either Meta's going to get some bad news on company-specific news to fill this gap, or we're going to have to get it from macro. In any other case, if SPY and QQQ keep grinding up, there's no reason for Meta to just do its own thing and come and fill this gap down randomly just because it's a gap, right? Look, I mean, this gap from last earnings, right? This is now a 3-month-old gap at this point, right? And we still did not fill the entire gap off this recent move, right? Not saying that it won't be filled and can't be filled in the future. However, it doesn't need to be filled right away. So let them prove it to you first, because at this point, monthly time frame bulls are in full control. Although eventually we will be expecting a monthly higher low. I don't know if it does this before setting a monthly higher low, or if it does it right away and then sets it and then confirmation, but we need to set a monthly uptrend. So far, this is not setting a monthly uptrend. It's a nice monthly move, but eventually we're going to have to confirm that monthly uptrend, right? So looking out for that. I'm not a buyer of Meta at these levels. I would rather wait for the higher time frame consolidation. But as we can see, bulls are in full control of the monthly, and right, the MACD cross already happened, like on most of our tech names. The weekly, bulls are in absolute full control. Anything above pretty much 208, 209 will just be a weekly higher low, weekly bull flag right now, and they're in control of the daily time frame as well, right? Anything pretty much above this guy here is a daily higher low. It's the same chart daily and weekly at this point. So bulls, we're going to want to see them hold these moving averages. And for sure, you don't want to see them give too much back of this move, right? Fibonacci style, right? You don't want to see them give back more than 50% of this move if you want to see further continuation of the upside. If not, it's just going to turn into a potential consolidation fest, or even worse, if they go too deep, well, you can always get a daily downtrend and weekly downtrend. If I'm looking to short Meta, that's the pattern I'm looking for. But as of now, congratulations to the bulls because they are in full control. Now, looking at Tesla. Tesla, surprising me. Now, Tesla is very, very, very interesting, guys. So like I said in previous videos, we had two gaps. It was I coined it the battle of the gaps. Gap down here, gap down here. Which one do we fill first? Well, initially, it was looking like the bears wanted to fill that one first. We did not get all the way. Got to 152 and got rejected. And what we wanted to see was exactly that. We wanted to see bulls regain the lower time frame. So look at this. 4-hour down move. The bulls engulf it. What do you want to see? You want to see a higher low. They successfully set the higher low zone. And now we've confirmed a 4-hour uptrend. So that's step number one. Now we move up to the daily. Is it the same on the daily? Yes. Daily downtrend, right? Bulls make a move up. They come down, set the daily higher lows, and now we've confirmed a daily uptrend move. So now we've recaptured the lower time frames. This is really good. So what we want to see is we want to see bulls hold this. The higher that they can push before retracing gives them the better odds of continuing this daily move to the upside. If they were to stop this move, well, we have to target our lows here just below 160, right? 158, 159. You do not want to see them lose those levels because what's going to happen, right, is if we do that and now break below, we will just be continuing a weekly downtrend. What you want to see bulls do, we've reversed the 4-hour. We've reversed the daily. Now we have to reverse the weekly because as we know, we're in a weekly downtrend. So what do bulls have to do? We have to put in a leg higher, come down, set a higher low on the weekly, and then confirm a first weekly uptrend since our highs here in February. So that's what I'm looking for at this point. I'm looking for bulls to potentially fill the rest of this gap here all the way up to 177 before maybe taking a breather, coming down, setting both a daily and potential weekly higher low at the same time, right? It would look something like, well, on the weekly, you don't see it too well, but it would look something like this, right? And then confirming a potential weekly uptrend. That would be best case scenario if you want bulls to have another run at our relative highs of the year here. So one thing at a time, bulls are in control of the daily. We're going to be looking, when we're looking to top out the moves, we want to see when are bulls going to lose the hourly uptrend. When you lose the hour and 4-hour uptrend, that's when you look to the daily for daily consolidation. But for now, bulls are looking fairly decent. So next target to the upside will be our 177.78 level of resistance. And to the downside, like I said, be very mindful of this 159 level because if we break that and continue the downside, we'll have just lost all of that beautiful work. NVIDIA. What a monster. So this is kind of the same thing as Apple, right? So Apple and Meta, pretty much same thing, right? So we have monthly MACD cross, RSI pushing the upside. Bulls are in absolute full control of this time frame. We still have not set a monthly higher low, right? Same thing from Meta. So eventually we will have to set the monthly higher low. Is it going to be here? Is it going to be right away? Nobody knows. But eventually when bulls do top out on the lower time frame, so they have to lose the weekly, the daily, obviously, When we see that happen, we're going to be looking for a monthly higher low. But as of now, don't go against the trend, right? So bulls are in full control of the monthly, full control of the weekly as well, right? It's very, very, very tough to short a stock that has the larger time frames in its favor, right? So what I want to see on NVIDIA, I'm just going to draw a theoretical here, is you want to see a rollover. You want to see them lose your daily higher low, which at this point would be 273. You want to see them lose that, test it, and then break. I enter on the break here of this potential level, right, which would be this massive support level. I set my stop above here, okay, and then continue for the short. I want the breakout to the downside and retest. I don't want to try to pick tops. It's the same thing when a stock is down, 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 down. You don't want to pick the bottoms. You need to wait for the confirmation. So always wait for confirmation. It'll save you a lot of profit, or it'll mitigate a lot of potential losses that you may be having, because just trying to short tops and buy bottoms is a very, very emotional way of trading, guys. In my opinion, it's always best to wait for the confirmation. Bulls are in full control here. We've just continued to confirm the furtherance of the daily uptrend. So at this point, I'm just going to be looking for the 4-hour trend to be my guide here. I want to see 4-hour exhaustion potentially to the upside. I want to see a big move up here into the RSI, and then we're going to give bears a chance. But if bears can't take back much of these bull moves, then bulls just stay in complete control, guys. So next levels to the upside for NVIDIA, we're pretty much there. We've broken our level of resistance here ever so slightly. So now the next area of supply up here is going to be all the way up at 310 and then potential all-time highs. To the downside on the weekly, very, very important level to keep in mind, 263 on your weekly time frame for the weekly higher low. And on the daily, to keep the daily uptrend intact, you don't want to lose 272. So great job. Congratulations if you're an NVIDIA bull. Now, looking into the plays of the day here. I hope my pages didn't expire. Airbnb earnings tomorrow, right? Airbnb earnings tomorrow. So what I want to see here is I want to write some premium. Normally I don't play earnings, but Airbnb is a company that I like, and I would not mind accumulating shares in this area. Do not play earnings on stocks you don't like or don't want to own at prices. This is the only time I ever play earnings with options, especially writing options. Normally I'll wait after. If it's a company I don't mind owning, but I don't really want to own for a long-term portfolio, then I'll wait for earnings, right? But if I do want to own and I want to capture premium at the same time, like Airbnb, I would not mind owning Airbnb. So I'm going to be looking in this lower range here. As you can see, guys, our premiums here in the 111 to 109, right? So we're just about 0.5% to maybe 0.8% here for these options here. These are the ones that I'm writing personally leading into earnings tomorrow. We had a very big move today from earnings, so you would have been best writing them pretty much on Friday, but at least now we have a bit more cushion. So I'm liking the premiums down here from 111 to 109. That's where I'm making my plays on Airbnb, because this is a very, very good level of support at this point. It's now 3-month support, right? On the weekly time frame, bulls are still in control. They would come down here. It would just be a double bottom. And on the monthly as well, right? Monthly, we have potentially set the monthly higher low for a monthly uptrend. So if earnings surprise to the upside, congratulations to the bulls. But if we do come down and test this area, we wouldn't be losing much. We would still just be in a monthly higher low setting pattern. That's why I like this play. So that's play number 1, Airbnb. Play number 2, IWM. It's one that I've been playing over the last 4 or 5 weeks at this point. So the Russell, right? Russell had a very good down day today. As you guys know, sound like a broken record. My range, 169 to 164. So if we do get another red day tomorrow, some negative bank headlines, decent gap down here. If we do pull down into there, would not surprise me if these are the wrong premiums. So it wouldn't surprise me here if towards the 170 and 169, we do get more premium on the contract. As of now, it's not so juicy. You know, 171 is kind of close for my liking, right? It's right above this gap here. Even though it's towards the lower area, I'm kind of greedy on IWM because it does move a lot, right? So I would like to see about 0.5% on these 169s, 170s. But as of tomorrow, if they are like that, if we get kind of a flat day, I probably wouldn't mind writing there as well. So that's play number 2, IWM, more conservative, wait for a potential red day, and I want to see about 0.5%. So meaning I want to see at least 70, 80 cents on one of these if we pull down a bit lower. Now, play number 3, PayPal. PayPal is one we took today, pre-earnings, and as you can see after the bell, now it's erased kind of, but see our after hours earnings here, it's about 71. We're about after 8 p.m. So let me see if I can pull it up. PayPal. Wow. PayPal stock, right? So $71 in our after hours trading here. 71, which is going to be right at our target support level here, right? So I have 72 on the chart, but as you can see, my green box is anywhere between $70 and $52. I know that's kind of greedy, but that's my fair value area for PayPal. They beat on revenue, beat on earnings today, raised guidance, and announced share buybacks, but the growth outlook wasn't good enough for Wall Street, even though it was very good compared to what PayPal has been putting out in the past 2 years. But it wasn't good enough for Wall Street, was what they were saying, the reason for the negative move. I don't personally mind that. PayPal is a company that I like a lot. At current valuations, with the earnings that just came out, they should be at about a 13 forward price to earnings for end of 2023 into 2024, which is very, very, very attractive in my opinion. They did a great job at cost cutting, boosting their EPS as a matter of fact. So this is a company tomorrow in the 71 range. As you can see, guys, on PayPal at the money today, we were getting, and these again have shifted. Sorry, guys, I spent too long talking that everything's expired. So now what we're going to be looking out for tomorrow, these are not the correct premiums. These were premiums when the stock closed today around 75, 76. So as you can see, tomorrow, what I'll be looking for here is I want something in the 65 to 67 range, which pays 0.5% to 1%. So if I see anywhere between 35 to 60 cents on these 64 to 67s, I will be pulling the trigger on PayPal tomorrow, because I do feel if we ever get back down to those lows, which are these lows right here, that's why I'm choosing them, the December ones, I feel that we're maybe due for a nice bounce. So I'm going to be going a little bit more aggressive on my size here, because I think that it's an overreaction in terms of Wall Street to the downside today, despite PayPal's good announcements. So I'm going to be looking to go a bit more aggressive on size here, not so much on price. I do want to be kind of conservative on my price for the end of the week, but I will be going a bit more greedy in terms of size. And lastly, Charles Schwab. So Charles Schwab also, in my opinion, getting unfairly hit. We're now approaching a level, guys, right? The reason I have this yellow line here is this is the gap fill from about 3 years ago at this point, right? So you are getting prices that otherwise you would have gotten only in 2020, right? Off of the COVID drop, if not 2019, 2018 prices. Right? So these are starting to get really attractive. We're talking about 3, 4, and 5-year-old prices. If Charles Schwab does continue its slight decline here, I did write the 45 puts today, pretty much towards the middle of the day here, probably kind of around the lows. I wrote them around 11 o'clock. It was slightly trading around $48. So got pretty good premium there. Let me just refresh this and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. So Charles Schwab here, 45 puts. They are paying pretty much 0.75% for the week, right? You can go a bit lower and get 0.5%. 0.5% would be around your 44.5. So that would give you an extra about, I think it was about 3-4% to the downside. Yeah. So if we do this, 44.5 would be actually about 6 more percent. For me, it would be an extra 5.5%, right? So Charles Schwab down 3.3% today almost. If we would go down another 5% before the end of the week, that would be another 8% potential down week for Schwab. In my opinion, getting hit unfairly as part of the whole banking crisis. It's being treated like a small regional bank, even though it's one of the major institutions in the US. Unfair treatment for it, in my opinion. As I reiterate, one of the largest components of their revenue is their brokerage business, TD Ameritrade, and obviously Schwab. So that's the one that I'm be writing for this week. Once again, I kind of went medium size on the contracts for this week just because I do like it. I do really like it around these levels. As you can see, we are still weekly oversold. We are not daily oversold, but we are setting up some pretty decent weekly divergence here on the RSI, which is what you love to see. This is a traditionally bullish signal on the daily RSI, excuse me. On the 4-hour time frame as well, as you can see, like we are really hovering towards the lower end. So everything kind of points to an eventual reversal as soon as we get through most of these negative headlines. But if we don't, if they do continue, I do not mind owning this institution, which is a profit margin monster, okay, at these lower prices, which would be, you know, like I was saying, 3, 4, and potential 5-year-old prices for a very, very, very solid institution, well capitalized, and no real risk of deposit flight any more than JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley for that matter. So those are pretty much the plays for the days, guys. Recap, sorry it was a bit of a long one, but coming into a new week, I always like to give a lot because there's a lot of trading days left. So hopefully you guys appreciated it. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing. I love you all. Be careful in your trading. I wish you the best of luck and great profits. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.